Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd love to know what you think. Every comment helps me make the next story better. Subscribe to stay tuned. The meditation app's voice floated through our loft in the Rhino Art District, smooth and placid as still water. I was stirring pasta sauce at the stove when the phrase came through the speaker. Release what no longer serves you. I glanced over at Whitney on her yoga mat. Her eyes opened and locked onto mine with an intensity one hadn't seen in months. Exactly, she said. I turned back to the sauce. Finally, we agree on something. She rolled up her mat with deliberate slowness. The kind of slowness that meant she'd been rehearsing what came next. 3 years of marriage teaches you to read these signs. We need to talk about our journey, she said. What journey? My spiritual awakening has shown me that I need space to grow. I set down the wooden spoon. Space. Define that. Whitney crossed her arms, then uncrossed them, settling into what I recognized as her conflict avoidance posture. Shoulders back, chin up, voice pitched to sound reasonable. I think we should explore a conscious uncoupling. Remain married, but live separately for a while. The pasta water boiled over. I moved the pot off the heat and turned to face her fully. How long have you been planning this? It's not planned. It's intuitive. The universe has been sending signals. I nodded slowly. The universe. Right. The same universe that had been sending signals through her phone for the past 4 months. The same universe that prompted password changes and late-night texting sessions. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay. You want space. Let's figure out the logistics. Her expression shifted from prepared for battle to confused. You're not upset? Would being upset change your mind? I just thought you'd want to talk about it more. I pulled out my phone and opened an apartment search app. We can talk while I look for a place. How much space do you need? A month? 6 months? Whitney's face went pale. I didn't mean you had to leave immediately. You want to live separately. Someone has to move out. This is your family's loft. Makes sense for me to go. Maybe we don't need to be that separate, she said quickly. Maybe just emotional space. No, I replied, scrolling through listings. You're right. Let's do this properly. She stood frozen as I bookmarked 3 apartments in Capitol Hill. The meditation app's voice returned, encouraging her to breathe into discomfort. The irony wasn't lost on me. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she asked, but because clarity requires distance. By morning, I made my decision. If Whitney wanted me released from her life, I'd honor that completely. The first week passed in a strange blur of mundane logistics and careful observation. Whitney's phone buzzed constantly with messages from someone listed as Journey Guide. Her new athleisure wardrobe appeared in the closet, tags still attached. The meditation app subscription, I noticed from our joint credit card statement, had been upgraded to premium 4 months ago. For months, before the conscious uncoupling conversation, before the universe started sending signals. On Friday, Whitney announced her plans for a spiritual retreat weekend. She'd be gone until Sunday evening. I helped her pack, noting the expensive yoga clothes and the amount of care she took with her appearance for a silent meditation retreat. You seem supportive, she said, surprised. You're following your path. Who am I to interfere? The moment her car pulled away, I called my brother Owen. He's a family law attorney, pragmatic in the way divorce makes people pragmatic. You sure about this? He asked. She's been planning this for months, Owen. I'm just catching up. I'll draft some preliminary documents. Don't sign anything without me reviewing it first. That weekend, I moved my essentials to a furnished short-term rental in Capitol Hill. The place was small, clean, functional. It had everything I needed and nothing I didn't. The opposite of the loft, with its carefully curated spiritual aesthetic and accumulated weight of 3 years. Sunday evening, I was sitting in my new apartment when my phone rang. Whitney, where are you? My new place. Your what? My apartment. In Capitol Hill. You wanted space. The line went quiet for a long moment. I'm coming over. That defeats the purpose of space. Grant, I didn't mean for you to just disappear. I didn't disappear. I moved out. Like we discussed. She arrived within 30 minutes, which meant she'd driven fast. Too fast. The kind of fast that comes from panic rather than concern. This is insane, she said, standing in the doorway of my studio apartment. You've actually moved out. You suggested conscious uncoupling. This is what that looks like. I meant we'd figure it out gradually. Together. You wanted to live separately. We're living separately. Whitney's eyes swept the space. The climbing gear in the corner. The minimal furniture. The single plate and cup in the drying rack. You're really okay with this? She asked. You released what no longer served you. I'm respecting that choice. Her jaw tightened. Stop using my words against me. I'm not. I'm taking them seriously. She left without the closure she'd come seeking. I watched from my window as she sat in her car for 15 minutes before driving away. Whatever script she'd prepared, I wasn't following it. The next morning, I joined Denver Bouldering Club on South Broadway. I'd climbed in college, before relationship logistics and career building took priority. The routes felt familiar in my hands, even if my body had forgotten their demands. Neil Robertson spotted me on my third visit. We'd been friends before I married Whitney, before his own divorce made him inconvenient to couple friends. Holloway, didn't know you climbed. Used to. Getting back into it. He studied my face with the knowing look of someone who'd been where I was heading. She leave, or did you? Both. Neither. It's complicated. It always is, he said. Until suddenly it isn't. We climbed together that day and the next. Neil didn't ask questions, which made him easy to talk to. By the end of week 2, I told him the broad strokes. The meditation app. The conscious uncoupling. The journey guide contact in her phone. She's already seeing someone, Neil said. Not a question. Likely. And she wanted permission to keep seeing him while keeping you around. That would be my assessment. He nodded, chalking his hands. What's your play? I don't have one. I'm just not playing her game. That's a play, Neil said. Sometimes the best one. Week 3 brought the coffee meeting. Whitney texted asking to check in on our journeys. I suggested Corvus Coffee Roasters on Washington Street. Neutral ground. Public enough to prevent scenes. She arrived 15 minutes late, which I'd expected. Power play. Showing she wasn't waiting around. I was already halfway through a black coffee when she sat down. You look different, she said. I've been climbing. Tends to change your body. Not just that. You seem distant. We're consciously uncoupled. Distance is the point. Whitney ordered a matcha latte with oat milk and honey. The same drink she'd always ordered, back when we used to meet at coffee shops for fun rather than negotiations. I've been doing a lot of internal work, she began. Processing shadow elements and embracing my authentic self. I nodded, saying nothing. I'm exploring connections with people who honor my journey. Are you seeing someone? I asked. Her eyes widened slightly. The question was too direct for the dance she'd choreographed. It's not about that. It's about energy exchange. That's a yes. You're being very linear about this. And you're being deliberately vague. I appreciate the clarity. I stood, leaving a $5 bill on the table. Whitney grabbed my wrist. Are you seeing someone? I'm focusing on my journey, I said, echoing her language. Isn't that what you recommended? Outside, the February air bit cold and clean. Behind me, I could hear Whitney scrambling to follow, her voice calling my name. I kept walking. Some conversations have natural endings, even when one person hasn't reached them yet. That evening, I bought woodworking tools. A table saw, sander, clamps. I'd always wanted to build furniture, back before married life filled itself with other priorities. I found a live edge slab of walnut online, rough cut and full of character. Imperfect. Honest. If I was rebuilding my life, I'd start with something I could touch. By week 4, the physical transformation was undeniable. Climbing daily had stripped away the soft edges marriage had allowed. My clothes fit differently. My posture had changed. I caught my reflection in storefront windows and barely recognized the man looking back. Lindsay Parker noticed at the climbing gym. She and her husband Troy were friends from our early marriage days, back when double dates felt more authentic than obligatory. Grant. Oh my God, I almost didn't recognize you. Hey, Lindsay. What are you doing here? I didn't know you climbed. Getting back into it. Troy appeared from the bathroom, did his own double take. Dude, you're shredded. What's your secret? Just been focused lately. They exchanged a glance. The kind married couple's perfect when they're having an entire conversation without words. How's Whitney? Lindsay asked carefully. She's good. We're actually exploring separate paths right now. You're separated? Consciously uncoupled. Her phrase, not mine. Another glance between them. Troy shifted his weight. That's rough, man. You doing okay? Better than expected, honestly. My phone buzzed. A text from Owen confirming our meeting about asset division. Lindsay's eyes caught the notification before I could pocket the phone. Is that a lawyer? My brother. He's helping with logistics. I could see the text messages starting before I'd even left the parking lot. Lindsay would tell Whitney everything. The new physique, the climbing, the lawyer. Part of me wondered if I'd run into them deliberately. A message delivered through proxies. The next afternoon, I was mid-climb when I heard her voice below. Grant. I looked down. Whitney stood at the base of the wall, arms crossed, completely out of place in street clothes among the climbers in their gear. I'm busy, I called down. We need to talk. I finished the route, descended, and chalked my hands. Neil raised an eyebrow from across the gym. I shook my head slightly. He nodded and moved to a different section. This isn't the place, I said. You won't answer my calls. You're never home. What else am I supposed to do? Respect the space you asked for. Her eyes swept over me. The chalk dust, the lean muscle, the easy confidence that came from remembering who I'd been before I'd reshaped myself to fit someone else's expectations. Lindsay called me, said you were here, looking different. And you came to verify her report? I came to understand what's happening with you. I wiped my hands on my shorts. Around us, other climbers were pretending not to watch. Small audience. Witnesses to whatever scene she'd come to create. What's happening is exactly what you suggested. Conscious uncoupling. Separate lives. You're doing this to hurt me. No, I'm doing this for me. Your pain isn't my responsibility anymore. Whitney stepped closer, lowering her voice. Can we please go somewhere private? We're done having private conversations. They just give you room to rewrite what was said. Her face flushed. I'm your wife. You're the woman who decided I no longer served you. Exact words, if I recall. I never said that. You looked at me and said exactly when your app told you to release what no longer serves you. Pretty clear message. She opened her mouth, closed it. The truth sat between us like a weight. Come by my apartment tonight, I said finally. But this is the last time, Whitney. After tonight, all communication goes through Owen. She nodded, eyes glistening. She left without another word. Neil appeared at my shoulder. That was your ex? Current wife. Soon to be ex. She's pretty. She is. But pretty doesn't fix what's broken underneath. That night, Whitney showed up at my apartment exactly on time, ready for whatever confrontation she'd prepared. You have to stop doing this, I said, letting her in. Let me in, please. I opened the door. She pushed past me, taking in the space like a detective gathering evidence. The woodworking project in the corner. The climbing photos on my phone, visible on the counter. The new minimalist aesthetic. Lindsay says you look completely different. I've been working out. She says you're seeing a lawyer. Owen's helping me understand our options. Whitney's face crumpled. Not quite crying, but close. The vulnerability performance, right on schedule. I miss you, she said, moving closer. Maybe this was a mistake. Her hand touched my chest. The same move that used to work, back when I still believed in us. I stepped back gently but firmly. You wanted space to grow. I'm giving you that. I thought space meant we could still connect sometimes. Space means space. Your concept. Your rules. My rules. Her voice rose. You're the one who ran away. I implemented the separation you requested. If that wasn't what you wanted, you should have been clearer. She tried a different approach. Softer voice. Eyes wide. Can we just talk? Really talk? We are talking. About us. About our marriage. What marriage? You asked for conscious uncoupling. You're exploring connections with other people. Those aren't the actions of someone invested in a marriage. Whitney's phone buzzed on the counter where she'd left it. A text notification lit up the screen. Journey guide asking about her evening plans. Her eyes shot to the phone, then to my face, calculating how much I'd seen. You can answer that, I said. I'm not your keeper. She grabbed the phone, clutching it against her chest. You're different. Cold. I'm clear. There's a difference. After she left, I went back to sanding the walnut slab. The grain revealed itself slowly under my hands. Patience and honest work exposing something beautiful that had always been there, just hidden under roughness. The dinner party at Lindsay and Troy's place in Wash Park came in week 5. Whitney had agreed to go before the coffee shop conversation, back when she still controlled the narrative. By the time the evening arrived, I could tell she regretted committing. I showed up directly from climbing, my gym bag still in the truck. Whitney arrived separately, dressed in flowing linen and crystals. Her spiritual armor. Grant, Lindsay greeted me at the door. You look amazing. Thanks for having me. Whitney appeared behind her. Our eyes met across the entryway. Her smile was tight, practiced. The dinner table held 6 people. Us, Lindsay and Troy, and another couple I didn't know well. The conversation started safe. Weather, local news, safe harbor small talk. Then Troy, 3 drinks in, broke protocol. So how's the conscious uncoupling going? Whitney's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Fine, she said carefully. We're both growing. That's one way to put it, I said. All eyes turned to me. Lindsay leaned forward. What's it like? I've read about it, but never known anyone actually doing it. Whitney jumped in. It's about creating space for individual evolution while honoring the connection we built. It's about Whitney wanting to see other people without dealing with divorce logistics, I added calmly. The table went silent. That's not fair, Whitney said. Is it inaccurate? She set down her wine glass hard enough to splash. You're making it sound calculated. Wasn't it? You suggested living separately. You're exploring connections with other people. Those were your words. The other couple exchanged uncomfortable glances. Troy looked fascinated. Lindsay looked horrified. This was supposed to be mutual, Whitney insisted. It is mutual. I'm doing exactly what you asked. You're twisting everything. I'm stating facts. If the facts sound bad, maybe examine the facts. Whitney stood abruptly. I need air. She disappeared to the bathroom. Lindsay followed after a moment. Troy topped off my wine. Dude, he said quietly. What happened? She wanted freedom without consequences. I gave her freedom with consequences. And you're okay? Getting there. In the kitchen, I could hear Lindsay and Whitney's urgent whispers. Something about me being cruel. Something about not understanding spiritual growth. Something about how I'd changed. They weren't wrong about that last part. When Whitney returned, her eyes were red-rimmed, but her face was set. We made it through the rest of dinner in tense politeness. As people prepared to leave, Whitney pulled me aside. We need to try counseling, she said. This isn't working. What isn't working? This whole arrangement. You're angry. I'm not angry. I'm just not playing along anymore. Playing along with what? Whatever you thought this would look like. You wanted me to wait quietly at home while you explored your options. When I started living my own life instead, you decided the rules needed to change. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I want to fix this, she said finally. There's nothing to fix. You got what you asked for. I left her standing in the Parkers' driveway. In my rearview mirror, I watched Troy put a hand on her shoulder while she scrolled through her phone. Probably texting Journey Guide. Probably looking for comfort in the connection she'd chosen over our marriage. The next morning, I met Owen for breakfast at a diner near his office. He'd asked to see me in person, which meant serious conversation territory. How are you holding up? He asked over coffee. Better than I expected. Lindsay called me last night. Said things got tense at the dinner party. I shrugged. Whitney wanted to control the narrative. I didn't let her. Owen pulled out his tablet, opened a document. I've been working on the divorce petition. Want to walk through it? We spent an hour going through details. Asset division, debt allocation, the clean break I'd requested. Owen made notes, asked questions, built the framework for ending what Whitney had already destroyed. You're sure about this? He asked finally. No part of you wants to try counseling first. She's been seeing someone else for months, Owen. She just wanted permission to make it official while keeping me around as backup. People reconcile from worse. Sure, but those people wanted to reconcile. Whitney wants to avoid consequences. Owen closed his tablet. Then we file next week. Once we do, there's no taking it back. Good. I'm tired of living in limbo. One more thing, Owen said. She's going to fight this. Probably claim you abandoned the marriage by moving out. I have the text where she asked for conscious uncoupling. Her words. Her initiation. Keep documenting everything. Every conversation. Every interaction. She seems like the type to rewrite history when it suits her. He wasn't wrong. Whitney excelled at crafting narratives where she was always the wounded party. Already on it, I said. We parted ways outside the diner. Owen headed to his office. I headed to a hardware store for more woodworking supplies. The table was nearly finished. I needed sandpaper and oil for the final touches. The manipulations escalated after the dinner party. First came the vulnerable confession, delivered at my apartment door at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. I've been doing shadow work, Whitney said. pushing past me before I could refuse entry. I realized I was running from intimacy. She'd brought containers of homemade food, the dishes I used to love. Strategic nostalgia deployed like a weapon. When did you start seeing him? I asked. She froze, a container halfway to my fridge. Who? Journey guide. Preston. Whatever you call him. How do you know his name? When did it start, Whitney? She set down the food. Why does that matter? Because your meditation app subscription began 4 months before you asked for conscious uncoupling. The blood drained from her face. You're tracking my purchases? Joint credit card. Joint account. All perfectly legal to review. This is why I needed space. You're controlling. I'm informed. Different thing. She tried tears next. They came easily, practiced from months of spiritual emotional work. I handed her a tissue and said nothing. The silence stretched until she gave up, gathering her containers and leaving in a storm of wronged righteousness. 2 days later, my phone exploded with texts. Car trouble. Stranded. Needed me specifically. When I suggested roadside assistance, she called. I need you, Grant. Not some stranger. Something in her voice was off. Too urgent. Too performative. Where are you? She gave me an address. A parking lot near her yoga studio. I arrived to find her car running perfectly, Whitney leaning against it with crossed arms. Your car seems fine. I just needed to see you. You're avoiding me. You asked for space. I'm providing it. I didn't mean forever. Then what time frame did you have in mind? Until you decided if Preston was a better option? Her face went through several expressions. Denial, anger, calculation. We could have worked through this, she said finally. We could have, before you decided to work through it with someone else. I left her in that parking lot, another manufactured crisis dissolved by calm refusal to engage. 2 days later, Amber Hayes appeared at my climbing gym. I recognized her from photos Whitney had shown me. The yoga instructor, the supposed spiritual guide, the woman who'd introduced Whitney to Preston at that Tantra workshop. Grant Holloway? That's me. She was tall, willowy, dressed in expensive athleisure that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her expression held that particular blend of pity and judgment I'd come to expect from Whitney's circle. I'm Amber, Whitney's teacher. I know who you are. Can we talk? I gestured to a bench along the wall. We sat, though I kept my distance. Whatever she'd come to say, I wasn't interested in making it comfortable. Whitney is really struggling, Amber began. She made a mistake, and she knows it. Does she? Or does she just not like the consequences? Amber's face tightened. You're being very cold. Where's your compassion? I have plenty of compassion. I'm just not directing it towards someone who explicitly said I don't serve her anymore. She was confused. Going through a spiritual awakening. These things are messy. No, affairs are messy. Spiritual awakenings are convenient excuses. Amber shifted tactics, leaning forward with practiced earnestness. Don't you think the universe brought you two together for a reason? That maybe this is a test you're both meant to pass? The universe didn't bring us together. A dating app did. And if this is a test, Whitney failed it when she decided to explore other options while keeping me on hold. That's a very masculine way of looking at it. It's an honest way of looking at it. Amber stood, her patience clearly exhausted. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive her. She really does love you. She loves having options. There's a difference. After she left, Neil wandered over. Who was that? Whitney's enabler. Come to plead her case. How'd that go? About how you'd expect. Neil shook his head. She's really pulling out all the stops. Desperation makes people creative. The financial manipulation came next. A text about being unable to afford rent alone. A suggestion I moved back to save money. I met her at Huckleberry Roasters on Larimer Street to discuss finances. Owen had prepared a simple asset division proposal. I slid it across the table. What's this? Proposed division of assets. She opened the folder. Her eyes scanned the documents, widening with each page. You're talking to lawyers? Owen's helping me understand our options. For what? Divorce. The word landed like a stone in still water. Ripples spread across her face. I never said divorce. What did you think conscious uncoupling meant? A break. Space to grow. Not divorce. You wanted to see other people while remaining married. That's not a break. That's wanting your backup plan to stay in place while you shop around. That's not fair. It's accurate. Whitney's hands shook as she pushed the folder back toward me. I need time to think. Take all the time you need. But I'm done waiting. She tried to rally, pulling out her phone. Amber says I should fight for this. That you're just reacting from your wounded masculine. Amber, your yoga instructor. The one who introduced you to Preston? Whitney's face went pale. How did you know that? I didn't answer. Sometimes silence says more than explanations. On a quiet Thursday evening, I finished the walnut table. The final coat of oil brought out depths in the grain I hadn't seen before. Dark swirls against lighter wood. Character earned through growth and time. I ran my hand across the surface. Smooth. Solid. Honest work made tangible. My phone rang. Whitney. I let it go to voicemail. She'd been calling daily now, each message more desperate than the last. Asking to talk. Begging for another chance. Claiming the universe was sending her signs that we were meant to be together. The signs she was interpreting were just her own fear reflected back at her. Neil came by to see the finished piece. He stood in my doorway, nodding slowly. That's beautiful work. Thanks. You build this from scratch. Started with a rough slab. Took time to see what was underneath. He met my eyes. We both understood we weren't just talking about furniture. You doing okay? He asked. Yeah. Better every day. She's still calling? Constantly. But Owen's filing the petition tomorrow. After that, everything goes through lawyers. Neil studied the table again. You know what's funny? She wanted you to change. To be different. More spiritual or whatever. And you did change. Just not in the direction she expected. I changed back. I corrected. Into who I was before I started editing myself to make someone else comfortable. Even better. After he left, I sat at my new table and opened my laptop. Owen had sent the final divorce documents for review. Clean. Fair. Straightforward. Everything Whitney's approach to ending things hadn't been. I approved them with a single click. My phone buzzed with a text from Whitney. Can we please talk? One more time. Face to face. I need closure. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then typed back. Tomorrow. Coffee. One last time. The 6th week brought the final confrontation. I'd asked Whitney to meet me at the same coffee shop. Neutral ground. Witnesses. Protection against whatever desperate move came next. She arrived prepared for reconciliation. I could see it in her posture. The hope. The script she'd written where we found our way back to each other. I slid a folder across the table. Different from the asset division. Thicker. What's this? What I know. She opened it slowly. Inside were credit card statements, highlighted charges from 4 months ago. Hotel rooms. Restaurants. A pattern impossible to explain away. Screenshots came next. Text messages from her tablet, synced to the cloud. Conversations with Preston starting last October. Planning meetups. Sharing intimate details about our marriage troubles before she'd ever mentioned them to me. Where did you get this? Her voice was barely a whisper. Joint accounts. Shared cloud storage. All perfectly legal. You've been spying on me. I've been paying attention. There's a difference. Whitney's hands trembled as she flipped through evidence of her affair. For months of building a relationship while planning her exit strategy. The meditation app subscription began the same week she met Preston at Amber's Tantra workshop. It didn't mean anything, she said finally. I was confused. You weren't confused. You were deliberate. This is why I needed space. You're so controlling. You met Preston in October. You began an affair in November. You asked for conscious uncoupling in February. That's not confusion. That's strategy. She tried anger. You had no right to go through my private messages. They're not private when they're on our shared account. And they stop being your concern when you've already checked out of the marriage. The tears came next. Real ones this time, I thought. But maybe I'd lost the ability to tell the difference between genuine emotion and performance. Please don't do this, she whispered. I'm not doing anything. I'm accepting what you already did. We can fix this. Counseling. Whatever it takes. You don't want to fix the marriage. You want me to be okay with what you've done so you don't have to feel bad about it. Whitney's phone buzzed. Preston. It had to be. Her eyes flickered to it, then back to me. Even now, even here, she couldn't fully commit to the moment. I still love you, she said. You love what I provided. Stability. Security. The safety of a backup plan. But you don't love me enough to choose me. I stood, leaving the folder on the table. Owen will send the formal petition next week. You should get your own attorney. Grant, wait. But I was done waiting. Done negotiating. Done pretending this was anything other than what it was. The final visit to the loft came 2 days later. Owen had drafted paperwork. Clean division. No alimony, given the short marriage and both our incomes. Whitney kept the loft, her family's investment. I kept my tools, my furniture, the life I'd started building. I arrived to collect my remaining belongings and found Whitney mid-meditation session. The app played through the speakers, the same smooth voice offering the same guidance that started this. Release what no longer serves you. She opened her eyes when I entered. Pause the app. The universe is telling us to fight for this, she said. The universe told you to release me. I'm just honoring that message. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Choices have consequences. I loaded my tools into boxes. The table saw. The half-finished walnut slab. The climbing gear that had become as essential as breathing. Whitney followed me from room to room, cycling through her script. Anger. Tears. Bargaining. Each move met with calm refusal. You never even tried, she accused. I tried for 3 years. You tried for 6 weeks once you realized Preston wasn't serious. He meant nothing. Then why risk everything for nothing? She had no answer to that. Neither did I, really. At the door, I set down the last box and pulled the key from my pocket. The loft key we'd made together when we moved in. Back when we thought we were building something permanent. I hope your journey brings you what you're looking for, I said. I placed the key on the entry table and picked up my box. I still love you, she said again. The phrase had lost its meaning through repetition. You love the idea of not being alone. There's a difference. The door closed quietly behind me. No slam. No drama. Just the soft click of a chapter ending. That evening, I assembled the live edge table in my apartment. The walnut grain emerged under my hands, rich and complex. Imperfect, but honest. The joints fit clean. The surface, sanded smooth, reflected light like still water. I set my phone on the finished table and saw the notification. Whitney had posted on Instagram. Something about new beginnings and releasing old patterns. Preston had already commented. Heart emoji. The cycle continuing. I blocked her account. Not from anger, but from clarity. Some doors need to close completely before new ones can open. Neil texted about climbing tomorrow. I confirmed. Owen sent paperwork to review. I saved it for later. The meditation app phrase had been right, in its way. Release what no longer serves you. Whitney thought it applied to me. She never considered it might apply to her. The universe works in mysterious ways. Or maybe it just holds up mirrors, and some people don't like what they see. I looked at the table, at the home I was building from honest materials and patient work. Not the same as before. Better. More true. Released from expectations that never fit. Free to become what I'd always been underneath. The journey was just beginning. And this time, I was walking it alone. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.